What's up, guys? I'm Sean here from Srkcycles, and I'm sitting on the 2011 Harley Blackline. If you remember this bike, this is the bike we're giving away December 31st, 2017. If you haven't gotten on board, get on board. The link is below. This video is about just buying tips, how to buy a used motorcycle, what to look for, and what should concern you, what should make you run away, and what you just need to renegotiate the price. Or if it's really cheap, just kind of deal with it and then fix it when you get home. First thing, you want to, if you're not, like, unlike me, I buy bikes all the time. I'm over the whole, wow, it's a motorcycle. So a lot of guys make the mistake of they first see a bike and they're just like, wow, it's a motorcycle, and then they just, that's all they see. They take it home, they start realizing all these damages and all these flaws, and they probably shouldn't have bought the bike in the first place. So spend 10 minutes just walking around the bike and just looking at stuff, making sure things are in their place, making sure there's no scratches, making sure there's no damage. If you look, common spots for scratches are going to be like something like right here, down here, any dents on the tank, pegs. Another real common spot would be the bar ends and the lever ends. If you walk around the bike, also right here, if you walk around the bike and there's not even a scratch on any of these spots, you're probably pretty good. Now, if there is scratch on the bar ends, you have to kind of figure out what happened. Did they replace anything? A lot of times, if someone drops a bike, it's easy to replace pegs, bar ends, lever ends, but they're probably not going to replace the lower fork tubes because this costs $2,000 to replace, and if it just has a scratch on it, so you might be able to figure out what's going on with the bike. Was it down? Not that if a bike goes down, it's not a huge deal. It's not a deal breaker. It doesn't ruin the bike. It's just you should know that information coming into it. One thing, the VIN is always going to be on a bike 2 times. It's going to be stamped on the neck of the bike. It's always somewhere around up here, and it's also going to be on a sticker. Sometimes here on sport bikes, it's on the side of the frame. Sometimes it's actually behind one of the fairings. You got to kind of peek around, look through it. You want to make sure that the stamp on the neck matches the title. I've made this very fatal error before, and it's a big deal. I ended up, it was a stolen bike, and so I had to call the police and deal with all that stuff. So you want to make sure that matches the VIN on the title. Another thing, just common sense, just make sure it's leaking fluids. It might all look good from up here. Maybe check in the guy's garage or wherever it's parked and make sure there's no fluids on the floor. But you want to lay down, get on the ground, and just make sure everything looks normal. Nothing's out of whack, nothing goofy. Everything looks fine on this bike. Not that if it is leaking something, it's a deal breaker, but you need to know where it's leaking from and kind of do a little more investigation at that point. Something just like a car. Let's say you're buying a used car and you open up the trunk and he's got 5 bottles of coolant in the trunk, and you say, "Hey, is it leaking coolant?" And the guy tells you no, he's lying. Check the saddlebags. Check the saddlebags. Check the tour pack. If there's if it's a water-cooled bike, if there's coolant in there, maybe something's going on. It's rare, but if there's oil in there, just ask them. How often you putting oil in it. Check the fork seals. So these should not be slimy. You should feel these, and it feels nice and tight, but it should not be slimy. If it's slimy, you've got blown fork seals. If it's just one, you got to replace both of them anyway, and you're looking at a couple $100. It's not a deal breaker, but if you didn't know about that coming into the deal, then you need to talk them down a couple $100. So you got fork seals. It's pretty common for the bigger Harleys. When you take it for a spin, you just want to feel the brakes. Make sure the brakes aren't pulsating. Also, if you feel this is real tight. A lot of the, it's common for an older Harley for the brakes to pull back almost to your knuckles. Not a huge deal. Either the brakes need bled, or possibly the master cylinder might need to be replaced. Not a huge deal, but if you didn't know about it going into it, then it's good information for you to have at that point. What else we got? If it's carbureted, you should only be pulling the choke out for 30 seconds to a minute. Then you should be putting back in. It should idle pretty good at that point, somewhere around that. But if the guy tells you have to have the choke out for the next 10 minutes and do a bunch of weird stuff to start it, you might want to think twice. Maybe that's not the bike for you, or factor in getting the carbs rebuilt and cleaned and getting that all tuned up. Another thing you want to do, if the bike's been sitting for a while and it's an older bike, it's nice just to open up the gas cap and look inside there. Now, depending on the type of bike, you could tell if the tank's been painted, if the inside's a different color than the rest of the bike. Now, the Harley Davidson, it's not the case, but a lot of times sport bikes will be the same color inside the tank. Not that that's a big deal, but if the bike's been painted, you have to ask more questions. Why was it painted? And in almost every case, no one paints the bike to as good of quality as it was originally, and no one paints a perfectly good bike. So normally the bike's been dropped, they were fixed it, and then they painted it. So when you look in here, you want to also look for rust. Make sure there's no rust inside the gas tank. And if there is rust and you like the bike, it probably has low miles. It's not a deal breaker, but you're going to need to take the tank off and get the inside of the tank sealed, and then put a fuel filter in there and probably clean the carburetor. So you're looking at a couple $100. So just make sure you know. The person who has the most information in doing these deals is probably the person who's going to come out ahead. Tires. Tires can be expensive. You can look at a probably minimum $400 if you're replacing the tires on your bike, depending on the bike. Well, it could be cheaper. It could be around $300. We want to make sure the tires are not cupping, so it should feel nice and smooth, nice and flat along your hands. It feels kind of jaggedy along the tread pattern. A lot of gold wings, you'll see that. Then you might need to change the tire. You might need to replace the tires. Don't make it a deal breaker, but just you might need to figure out what the tires cost. You're looking about $50 to mount and balance them, and then factor that into the deal. You want to make sure the handlebars, when you sit on the bike, you straighten out the wheel. So the wheel is straight, make sure the handlebars are also straight. And also the actual handlebar, so one's not bent in more than the other one. If it is, he probably dropped it. Maybe do a little more research, start looking more to see what other damage might be there. But if you got to replace the handlebars, it's not a huge deal. Handlebars could be as cheap as $50. It can be as expensive as $400. Not a huge deal. Now, if the whole trip, if the tire's facing this way, but the handlebars are a degree or two off, there's bushings, depending on the bike, there's bushings inside this, the triple clamp, and you can actually just pull the bike over, twist it back, and probably those bushings might need to be replaced or tightened up. Another thing, it's not a huge deal, but you just need to know this information. If you see a lot of rust, the bike looks pretty good, but you see a lot of you're looking inside here, and maybe that bolt is good, but the washer underneath there is rusted, or maybe that bolt's a little rusted or something like that. You can probably conclude that the bike just sat outside for a little while. Not a deal breaker, not even a bad thing. It's just, that's just more information that you need to know. If the guy's telling you that it's been garage kept its whole life, maybe you need to look a little deeper. One of the biggest things when it comes to buying a motorcycle from a private individual is not only are you looking at the bike, you're looking at the customer or the person that you're buying the bike from. If he's telling you things, so the whole time when you're walking around, you're looking at stuff, you're asking him questions about the bike. You're also asking him questions about himself. Why are you selling the bike? What, just stuff like that. How long you been living here? Just to kind of get an idea of who the guy is, and make sure his story checks out. If he tells you he's on the bike for 2 years, and you look at the title, and you see that he's only had the bike for 2 weeks, that's a huge red flag. Like at that point, it's like, what is he hiding from you? He's trying to make the story sound better than what it is, and he's trying to flip this bike because he just bought it, and something's wrong with it. Now, if he can explain to you, if he told you, just bought the bike, I don't like it, I bought it for my wife, now I'm selling it, hey, it makes sense. But if he's lying to you, that's a big red flag, and you might either need to run away, or if the deal looks good enough, get some more, get an expert, get a buddy, take it to a shop, get more people to look at it just to make sure you're not getting ripped off. Another thing, if you can, pop the seat off. A lot of sport bikes, there's a key. Pop the back seat off. See if it has a power commander. See if the wiring looks clean. the more of the bike that you can see, the more information you're going to gain from the bike. If you pull a seat off and there's zip ties, or not zip ties, but like there's cut wires and splices and goofy things, that might be a red flag. That could be a big deal. In the situations like that, you might want to just run away. Let me see what else. Title. If you're buying from a private individual and you don't know what the title's supposed to look like, talk to someone who does. So what you want to do is you want to pull up online what the title should look like, or make sure you guys take it to a notary and get that filled out. If it's our title, or reconstructed, or flood, that will be on the title, and it's normally pretty obvious. So just make sure you know all the information about it. What I like to do is, before I buy a bike from a private individual, before I go out there to go see the bike, I like to have him send me a picture of the title front and back, just so I can verify the information, just to make sure nothing's not messed up. If I'm going to drive 3 hours for a bike and I get there and I find out that they can't actually sell the bike because it's not even their bike, you might want to walk away. Guys, check out Srkcycles.com. That's our website. We got we sell motorcycles, we test drive bikes, we do this inspection on all of our bikes, and we sell it at pretty good prices. So the more information you have, the better chance you're going to get at not getting ripped off. All right, guys. See you later. Hey, guys. I'm Sean from Srkcycles. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe right here. And remember, our prices on the motorcycles do change, so click on the link below to see our current rates and shipping prices. We'll see you guys later.